that we would want to have private sector-led development. We admire the great progress by Korea, and we know that it is because the captains of industry and serious businessmen have taken it upon themselves to build their country. There's a lot of attention now being focused on Africa. And Chairman, I want to tell you that within East Africa, Kenya is actually the hub. We have East African community now, which comprises Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. Population of 126 million people. We now have a common market. But beyond the East African community, we also have common market for Eastern and Southern Africa. It's another very interesting grouping of nearly 320 million people in Africa, mainly countries of East Africa, parts of them in Southern, and some even in upper countries like Egypt, members of COMESA. So, and everybody does recognize the centrality of Nairobi as the hub, the economic hub. This is why I felt that the Korea Chamber of Commerce can work with the Kenya Chamber of Commerce and to invite, this is time to invite investors in Kenya. We've just promulgated a new constitution, and under its terms, foreign investment is specifically protected. And we did liberalize the foreign exchange regime many years ago. But now this is official, it's confirmed, and there's a lot of expectation by the Kenyan people after we got our new constitution through a referendum late this year. In fact, the promulgation was in the month of August on the 27th. And it's like Kenyans are feeling that the country is reborn. Because when we appreciate the fact that at independence in 1963, when we gained independence from Britain, the GDP per capita between South Korea and Kenya was almost at par. It was $79, I think. But you've been able to grow exponentially. We admire this, the hard work and the work ethic of the Korean people. And we're also now similarly trying to catch up with Korea. And we hope we will. But the world has now become smaller. And that's why I want to take this opportunity to invite your members individually to come to Kenya and do business. We have now an embassy here. We never used to have an ambassador. He's himself from the private sector, and he can help you a lot. So we wanted, we have here a very strong team through the embassy, and I wanted to commend him to you and to ask that you work with him. Now we have free movement of goods and services because we have adopted various protocols. And we started with the Free Customs Union. And now we have a common market from July the 1st. And so this is very encouraging that East Africans are now able to really feel part and parcel of each other. Free movement of goods and services, free movement of capital. And so this is why I felt it's important to announce to you, to your chamber, that opportunities do exist in East Africa now for serious engagement with Korea, at least through the East African community. And one thing is you can set up industries in Kenya, and when you manufacture for the East African market as well as the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, and the market is even bigger. And I think we think that Africa now is the next frontier for investment. We actually would want to encourage also tourism from Korea because, you know, we keep those animals. They are not ours. We keep them in trust for humanity. And so we just are given that responsibility of managing them through the Kenya Wildlife Service, which has done a very good job. You can imagine if Seoul, the capital here, had a whole national park attached to it. That is what Nairobi is. It's a whole national park. So it's the only capital I'm aware of in the world with a complete national park attached to it. But, and of course we have the world famous Masai Mara, and we know that Koreans love to travel as holiday makers. We hope they can make Kenya the next frontier to visit as tourists. Kenya Airways flies unfortunately only to Bangkok, but we hope they can also continue to fly into Seoul and other parts, but they have a code sharing arrangement with Korean Air, and maybe Korean Air will also fly into Nairobi one of these days. Best ambassadors are the Kenyan runners. They keep on running everywhere, marathon running, and we've noticed another caliber of tourists who want to come and see the sporting tourism. There's also conference tourism. As I said, since Nairobi is a UN headquarters, a lot of people come for the UN conferences and also come, take time to also do tourism. So we are combining all these things, including seeing how Kenyans live, and because our culture is also very rich. Just like I see Korean culture is tremendous. Kenyans are feeling that they cannot tolerate mismanagement of the economy. And so we're going very strong on infrastructure and the fight against poverty. But we also want to work very closely with Korea in the area of vocational training, because we are very strong. This is one subject the ambassador is following here with the Exim Bank of Korea. And we are very, very delighted with that prospect of serious engagement in education. But the balance of trade is heavily, heavily in favor of Korea. We want to do something about that. That's why we insist on cross-border investment, so that we can balance it a little bit.